And we are live. Hello, my lovelies. Today we are blessed to have the lovely and talented Julie Kagawa. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Kagawa, close. It's close
Kagawa.
enough.
Okay. Um, Author of our group book, The Shadow of the Fox, or Shadow of the Fox. There we go. I don't have a physical copy because I'm not in the country.
That's fair.
I have no books with me. My husband was like, "What?" But we are here to discuss this amazing book and try to keep the beginning part a little spoiler free. But as we go on, the spoilers may come out, so just be prepared. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's going to be fun. I can tell.
And of course, I have my lovely co-hosts. We have Amy from A Star Reads.
Hello.
And Stephanie from it's Steph's Bookverse or Stephanie's Bookverse?
Stephanie's. Yeah.
Stephanie's
I had to think
Bookverse.
about that for a second. I was like, what is it?
I forget something. And then, of course, we have people here in the audience. They're going to be asking questions throughout as well. Hello, Kay.
Hello.
Wanted to stop at the beginning. She ended up reading the whole trilogy.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing with this series because it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah, and you definitely left us like at a point where I have to go on to the next one.
Right?
So I'm like,
Small cliffhanger.
Julie.
So this was actually not the first book that I read from you. I also read the Iron
Fae
It was
one.
the first book in the Iron Fae series. And also that was another one of those that was like, this is fantastic. I need to read the whole series, which I have the whole series. So I have to read the whole thing.
There's a lot of books in that series.
There is. But you have a way of writing that like fully like brings you into the book and like you're in this immersive world. And yeah, I love your writing style.
Well, with Shadow of the Fox, I wanted to write an anime is what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Because I love anime, I love Japanese culture, I love Japanese folklore, and the kitsune is my absolute favorite of all mystical creatures except the dragon. So kitsune and dragon are my favorites. And I've always wanted to write a story with a kitsune as protagonist because they just sound so fun. You know, Inuyasha, I loved Shippo, the little fox, and any stories with kitsune, I love. So I really wanted to write a book about a kitsune and some ninjas and some samurai and some other weird yokai because it's a huge, colorful menagerie of yokai out there, and I just kind of wanted people to know about it and to see these weird creatures that exist in Japanese folklore.
You know, it's funny that the way it ended up with this group book and our last group book being one after the other, because that book also had yokai in it as well, which it was neat hearing, like getting to continue and learn more about the yokai, like the different yokai. Because our last group book was Find Him Where You Left Him Dead by Kristen Simmons.
Yeah.
And she talked a lot about yokai in that as well. And it was really interesting seeing more yokai. And I had never heard of yokai at all until that book. So it was really cool, like having two back to back like this.
So I was wondering, Julie, how did you prepare for, like, you know, obviously you said it was inspired by anime, but like knowing all the different yokai, did you do a lot of research, or was this just stories that you've learned throughout your lifetime? How did you prepare for? Because I loved all the folklore elements of it.
Yeah, most of it is I learned from all the anime I've watched over the years because there's a lot of yokai and Japanese folklore in anime. I mean, even Pokemon. Pokemon is has heavily inspired. Nine Tails is a straight up kitsune, you know. And there's some other yokai hints in there too that you can just kind of see if you're familiar with it. But lots of fantasy anime has the yokai in it. And I learned it from watching things like Naruto and Inuyasha and, you know, Bleach and all of these different anime that I love. But once I started writing, I did get a book on, you know, how like that listed hundreds of yokai from Japanese folklore, and I just kind of flipped through that, and there were a few in there that I didn't know and a few that were very familiar, and you know, it was a treasure trove of different yokai, but most of them I already kind of knew about.
It was funny when we first met our little fox girl, our little kitsune. I had her pictured in my head one way. And, like, in my head, she was like a 13, 14-year-old girl. That's how I saw her. Like, okay, she's coming into this age. She's very mischievous and you know, but innocent and all of that. And then as it went, I was like, and the way they talked about her, I was like, okay, she's definitely not 13 or 14.
I'm not gonna lie, I did the same thing.
And she had sort of a Cupid look to me when I first started reading, like a Cupid little round, like, and then as we get the descriptions of her later on, I'm like, oh, it's so different.
It was actually like around 90 something, because I was listening to it through audiobook, and it was like 90 something% of the way through the book before it actually said she was 16. And I was like, okay, that's how old she is. But I had this bit until they started talking about like her looks and him being drawn to her and her being beautiful. To me, she was like
she's like 12.
Mischievous kid.
I think that speaks of her towards her like innocence and her lack of experience in the world, though, right?
Yeah, she does go like she begins very naive, has never been outside the temple walls, so you know she does come across as very young. And I wanted to write her as naive but mischievous, but also not mean. You know, not, you know, she doesn't have
not evil.
Not, you know, she's never malicious. Everything she does is, you know, out of joy and, you know, just playfulness. So I didn't want her to be, because, you know, Tatsumi has that in spades. He's got that covered. He's got the dark and, you know, broody part covered. So I kind of wanted her to be the opposite. So, you know, the broody with the, you know, ray of sunshine is always a fun trope.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was really likable. A lot of times YA protagonists aren't very likable. As an older person reading a YA, you know, so I thought she was really likable.
Thank you.
Chris says hello, y'all.
Hello.
Love watching all your channels.
You.
Love this book so much. Jessica says, I love learning about Japanese culture from this book. Hello, Candace.
Hello.
Oh, welcome.
Can read this. Let's cute.
Okay, so one thing I got tickled with throughout this whole book is the fact that, okay, he is this broody loner and I got to do this all on my own, but he keeps accumulating. Like this group keeps growing and growing, and I love the cast of characters, and I love how it's like, okay, well, I'm going with you, and this one's like, okay, well, I'm going with you, and oh, I have to go with you. And he's just like, okay, really, this has gotten out of control.
Yeah, I kind of tortured Tatsumi through the book with, you know, everybody just deciding to join.
He was cute. I really liked him.
I liked seeing him, like, his emotions progressing and changing, and him actually feeling things and going, I'm not supposed to be feeling these things. I'm not, this is not good. But they weren't bad things he was feeling. It was sweet. But, you know how this book ended.
Thing to worry about.
Yeah. But he has a certain level of innocence himself, you know, because he's been raised one way and he knows nothing else of emotions and feelings. It's almost like he's, he's got this real innocence when it comes to having feelings, which I thought was really endearing. But then, of course, at the same time, you're like, no, don't, because you're gonna piss off that demon.
He was a little hard. He was harder to write because because obviously he has to feel something throughout the book. Otherwise, but balancing okay, he's not supposed to, and he can't show anything, but he does feel, and he was a little harder to write. I was like, dang it, Tatsumi, why are you so difficult? Stop brooding. Say something.
I can imagine that was difficult because he's quite a complex character, and it was fun to see him like having to go, okay, I need to push this aside, but I can't get this girl out of my head, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but I've got to do this at the end. And
well, and you didn't give him a lot of loopholes either. So
no. It's either he can feel and then the demon takes over, or he can shut all the emotions out. And yeah, so I didn't want to make it easy for him, and I didn't want to give an easy way out as seen at the end of the book. But I did have to bring Okame in just to have somebody else to bounce Yumeko off of, because he doesn't talk Tatsumi didn't talk very much. I'm like, I need somebody to talk to her. Here, obnoxious Ronin.
You.
And you did give us a found family situation, it just starts growing and growing and growing, like Melanie was saying. And I thought they were all such fun characters to get to know, and they were also different, that you could get their different personalities. I really enjoyed how you brought in different types of personalities to kind of balance the characters in different ways.
Much to Tatsumi's annoyance.
Yeah. I also like that all these characters weren't like, here you go, here's 15 characters all at once. And you had that time to get to know these characters and their personalities and all of this stuff as you went. And I'm one of these people that I have a hard time with following a bunch of different perspectives and stuff. My brain gets lost in it. And I forget who's who and all that. And that's if it's here's 15 characters all at once. But with this, it's okay, I know who Ronin is, and he was the rabid street dog that was given a crumb and in return saved the girl, and it was just sweet. And
yeah, I've read books where a bunch of characters are introduced all at once, and I'm the same way. I can't keep them straight, so I thought the better to meet them one at a time and get to know the personality before we throw somebody else into the mix. And I think if I had introduced 10 characters all at once, Tatsumi would just leave.
He's like, no.
It's no, I'm out.
One thing I really liked. Oh, sorry, Mel.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing I really liked was with your writing, I really loved the pacing. I felt especially for a journey stories can often be paced so poorly. And yet I loved that your pacing was really well done with this. So I'm just curious what your thought was, knowing that you had to carry the story along, and yet pacing can be such a difficult thing with writing. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, it was a journey story. They had to get from, the temple to the city. But it would be boring if it was just, they start off and then a week later they're there. So the pace, I kind of had another the anime structure in mind, where if they journey to someplace, they might, stumble upon the village. Well, there's always something else going on. There's always something, it's not just a village. There's something wrong with the village. Then they have to save the village, or they have to save someone in the village. And that was kind of my thought. Not completely episodic, but, their stops were, they had to stop and they had to help these people. And that could tell a little bit about the folklore and the creatures of Japanese folklore, but also it touched on the character development too, because Yumeko wanted to help, she wanted to help people, and Tatsumi was like, absolutely not, we have to keep going. and just to try to bring some character development out and some character conflict with the two as they were journeying. And it was really fun. I got to showcase, more weird yokai, like the first village that they stopped in had the what are they called?
The zombies.
Hungry,
The zombie-like
hungry
guys.
ghosts. So again,
is it Gaki or something?
Gaki. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The
I
Gaki.
kept thinking Becky in my head.
Yeah, they're the Gaki, and they are part of Japanese folklore, and they were just so interesting and terrifying, and I wanted to kind of showcase that. So I had a lot of fun with them getting from point A to point B and just kind of stumbling upon things as they did.
Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with Final Fantasy games.
I love Final Fantasy games.
Me too. They're really, really cool RPG games. And my husband and I used to play them a lot. And it kind of gave me that kind of vibe, the journey did, because in Final Fantasy, you typically have to make your way to this certain place and this thing's going to happen. But along the way, you're meeting these other characters and they're joining your party and you're having these other little quests along the way. And, you got to save this person before you can move on and all that stuff. And so it kind of gave me the vibe of Final Fantasy, like one of those Final Fantasy games, especially that part where it's like, okay, we got to figure out this stuff in the village. We can't go on until we do that.
Well, that makes me happy because basically every grumpy ray of sunshine couple I've ever loved is based off Squall and Rinoa from Final Fantasy VII. And my first big
one of our favorites.
My first big villain of my books, Machina, the Iron King, he's basically Sephiroth. How he looks, that's how I picture him. It's Sephiroth. So
okay, that's very cool going into it, knowing that, because now I'm gonna have that like Sephiroth pictured in my head.
Sephiroth in your head whenever you have scenes with Machina, and that's where he comes from.
Amy and Stephanie are like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, I got to find out about Final Fantasy.
That's kind of how I am with anything anime. I'm like, okay, y'all go ahead. But I do know Final Fantasy, and Marty and I would play them forever. Like we played it for a long time, and so that was the vibe I got from it. So that's really cool.
It makes me happy.
I have another question about non-spoilery stuff, or at least, before we start getting into that kind of stuff. YA. So you write predominantly YA?
Yes.
And so what made you go in YA direction, or how's that, how did you know that was what you wanted to write for, that demographic?
Well, when I started writing The Iron King, YA was just beginning. It was just getting big. And publishers were just starting to look around for new authors for their new YA imprints. And I had always written my protagonists young, like 16, 17. And I was just always drawn to that age. So I talked to my agent. I'm like, hey, I have this idea about this girl. Her little brother gets stolen by fairies and she has to go into the Never Never after him to save him. Do you think that would work? She's like, yes, write me that book right now. I can sell that book. So I did. I wrote The Iron King in like 2 months.
Wow.
Using NaNoWriMo. And it was a combination of good timing, I think. So it landed on my editor's, the Harlequin Teen editor's desk, and immediately they just picked it up. I had a 3-book contract for The Iron King.
Nice.
So
Wow.
And after that, it was just kind of, okay, well, I'm a YA author now, so.
Speaking of the Iron King series, I know that Fairy Loot did special editions of those. Like, this is a little bit off the subject a little bit, like what kind of input did you have into that? Like, did they send you a set of those for you to have as well?
They send me I don't usually have much input because they'll do like the special covers and the inlays, and most of my input is like, ooh, pretty.
There, it was pretty.
But yeah, it's I'm super pleased with like the fairy loot and how the fairy loot all turns out. So yeah, I have I'm always super stoked when I get a book. I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. So but usually they just contact me and they're like, we would like to do this. Is that okay? And I'm like, yes, do that. So
Please.
please do
That's
that.
really cool. Okay.
So how long did it take you to write Shadow of the Fox?
I think about 5 months, 5 or 6 months. About 5 months is my general time when I'm writing a new series or a new book in a new series. And then my editor and I have a couple of weeks back and forth in editing, and before it goes on to copy editing. It's about 5 months to write the actual thing.
Which character is your, like, you see yourself most in?
That's a tough one. So I see myself in a little bit in all of them. In Yumeko, I love a good prank. I have been the broody Tatsumi. I have been the sarcastic Okame. I have been Reika. I don't think I've been Daisuke. Probably not Daisuke. Maybe a little bit. But I think my younger self would be most like Tatsumi, because I was very broody and very, that stage. Right now, probably Reika. I think I would be mostly Reika. She's just no nonsense, no fluff. She's very pragmatic. If something is like, this is how it is, this is how it's got to be, let's just do this thing. So that's probably who I identify with most right now.
Okay, my mind is going blank on the name of this character. It starts with an S. It's the girl, the one that's a maid.
Oh, Suki?
Suki. Yeah. Yes. So I was totally getting into, her character and everything.
Did not see that coming.
I don't think this is too much of a spoiler because it's pretty close to the beginning. But you kill her off, and I'm just like, I thought she was our main character.
Me too.
And I was like, well,
It happened.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, are we following a ghost this whole time? What?
That was my thought too. I was like, wait, what? She's dead. It just started.
Yep.
And then it switched, and I was like, wait a minute, what? We have a new story?
I did, I probably should have put like the character names up above each of the chapters. I did that in the second and third book. But yes, I wanted to make people care about Suki because she is an important part of the story later on, well, throughout the story. But I did, she was doomed from the start. So
Right.
Yeah, but it was like, I exactly did that. I cared for her. I thought she was our main character, and then she was dead. And I'm like,
Right.
well.
Right, dead too. Like there was no question. You're like, okay, she's not coming back. Got it.
And her bloody remains.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
Got 8.
and I did want to showcase, like, with that ending of that chapter kind of set the tone. Like, this is kind of a harsher world. I wanted it to be a very anime, but very like serious. Like, so setting that tone from the beginning was kind of my goal with it. It's like, oh, okay, young girl just got ripped apart by a demon. That's how it's gonna go. So I wanted to set the precedence that the yokai and the demons of this world are no joke.
Now, I I very much approved of what came of our blood mage at the end.
Ah.
I think she definitely got what was coming to her.
Yeah, I wasn't sad.
No, not at all.
No.
I do have a question though. Okay, so Suki, she meets in the beginning. She meets the noble that's got the silver hair that's playing the flute. Is that the same silver hair that takes care of the blood mage?
No.
No, he's
so
our-
they're different.
He's
So-
the fighter, the sword
Wind
fighter.
Witch.
Yeah,
one, right?
Okay.
He's
That's
the
what I
one
thought.
who
And then
the bridge.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I was thinking. And then
Oh.
when the thing happened to the blood mage at towards the end,
I can see the confusion. Their names are very similar.
and
they
they were
and
describing
then
him as
Higetsu.
beautiful with the silver hair, and I was like, wait a minute, is that the same one?
Wasn't he the one with the Wind Witch? Like,
Yes, Higetsu was the one who spoke with the Wind Witch.
that's what I thought, and I was like, I gotta go back and find that,
He's,
and then
like,
I
on the
just didn't.
periphery the whole time, but like is clearly pulling the strings. So
And you'll get much more of him in the next books.
I liked him.
Yeah.
I'm excited about
I
that.
also like the one-eyed kid thing.
That poor
Which was his little minion.
kid. I felt bad for him. I feel like that guy's just like, okay, go ahead. He's like, me go talk to these murderers? Okay.
Favorite yokai?
Mine?
Mhm.
Oh, he's Kitsune, obviously, but some close seconds. The Wind Weasels,
They were so
Kamikaze.
cute.
Those were cool.
The Nekomatas are a favorite. They're the cats with the split tails.
Oh, okay.
They're usually portrayed like they're usually demonic. Yes,
Cats
they're
are.
Nekomatas. But and Tanuki, of course. Tanuki are a favorite as well. Tanukis are the badger type things. So the Tanuki is actually an indigenous animal to Japan. And they're a real animal, like the fox, but they've just been yokai'd.
Mhm.
And it's hilarious. So do you remember the scene where Tatsumi and Yumeko are at a restaurant and she notices a statue outside and comments on the scrotum? Large
That was fun.
That's a real thing in Japan. You can find those are Tanuki statues, and you can find them outside of restaurants. They usually wear hats, like straw hats, and they have ginormous scrotums that drag along the ground.
They're like, wow, wouldn't that change?
I know Yumeko was
Very
hilarious with that, and she was so serious about it. Like her observations were very important in that moment.
There is a really bizarre anime, and I forget what it is, but it's all about a family of Tanukis trying to save their home from not being lumbered, not being deforested. And their they use their scrotums to fly. They parachute glide in, and they use their scrotums to fight. They just smack people with it.
Wow, that sounds painful.
It's hilarious. Like, it's so funny. I forget what it's called.
Maybe you build a callus, Stephanie.
Yeah. What does my writing outlining process look like? Let's see. Usually with characters, I will have an idea for a character, and the story just kind of develops around that. So for Yumeko, I knew I already had an ending in mind, and I kind of, I wanted it to be an anime-like story. But usually I will sit down with my husband and talk a little bit about the story process, and we'll hash some things out. I don't outline. I hate summaries and outlines. So usually I'll have high points that I write towards. It's like, okay, I know this is the beginning. This has to happen. This has to happen. They have to kiss, and then it ends. And then I write toward those high points. Like, okay, here is the final battle. Here is where they meet some important character, and I'll write toward those high points. But everything in between, these valleys in between, are kind of made up along the way. So sometimes I get stuck and I have to backtrack. But usually, if I write toward these high points, I know where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that everybody's writing process is different. Like, I can't do outlines, but I know some people have to have an outline or they can't start. So everybody's is different.
You said thank you,
Awesome.
aspiring author here.
Keep writing.
So I like to ask a couple of fun questions, like, do you have a go-to snack or beverage that you have with you in your writing? Pepsi Max.
Oh,
They have a lot of Pepsi Max here too, but they also have the Coke Zero.
Yes.
where are you right now, Melanie? Are you still in Amsterdam?
I'm in Brussels, Belgium right
Brussels. Okay.
now. Till tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Tomorrow we'll be in the UK.
Yeah. Right now, I can't snack. I love to snack, but right now I'm sort of on a calorie restrictive diet because I'm trying to lose weight so I can. I take Muay Thai, and I'm trying to lose weight in the hopes that I will get a fight someday.
Ooh, fun! I lived in Thailand for a while, and so Muay Thai
Cool.
big
Yeah.
fan,
So I have
so
on my
cool.
Muay Thai, my Muay Thai hoodie right here.
That's so cool. It can get pretty intense.
Yes.
Have you had any like mock fights or anything like that?
I spar every week.
Dang. That's impressive.
Okay, well,
And I love it. It's so fun.
Before calorie restricting, what was your go-to snack?
Oh, anything sweet, like Reese's,
Oh,
chocolate, anything chocolate and peanut butter. So yeah,
Yeah.
same.
yeah.
I tried writing and I was
I
like,
also love red vines. You know, to get the big
Oh.
movie red vines pack, and I'll just chew through those.
that's funny because that's when I tried to I tried writing for a little bit, and I had my bowl of M&Ms and I had the red Twizzlers. I ate more than I wrote. Okay, another question. Do you have something that you keep with you anytime you're writing? I've had other authors that say they have, like, this one picture with them that they take wherever. I know one author, she was talking about how she has this little bird that she has on her laptop that she sets up there when she's writing. Do you have any like little something that you always have with you?
Does a Pepsi can count?
Sure.
I have to have some sort of caffeine, no matter where I am, but not really. I will, I don't travel much, but when I do, I'll usually take a 5-star notebook just so I can jot down ideas as they come, or if I have any story ideas. But beyond that, I'm pretty boring. I don't really get attached to like much, but I do have to have Pepsi. I do have to have caffeine. But yeah, so nothing small or fun like that, except maybe a notebook.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could think of. Do y'all have any other questions that you can think of to ask?
Yes, any aspiring, ask me anything about the writing. I would love to, the writing process. I would love to answer it.
I have a question about setting. So, got this beautiful maps, and of course, fantasy novels always have maps at the beginning. When you're planning, if this is a journey story, so when you're planning it, do you have a map idea in your head, or do you create a map or anything like that to kind of keep the direction clear for
Yes, for this one especially, I did have to have a map in my head, and that map was actually drawn by me and my husband.
Oh, cool.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Is your husband also an author, or
He is.
what does he write?
He writes sci-fi.
Uh,
Ooh,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Anything we'd know? Is there what's out there?
So he has a trilogy called Synthetic. Synthetic is the first book. His writing name is J.T. Nicholas. If you want to look him up.
I have that book.
Oh,
I
perfect!
have that book.
Awesome.
I was just like, that sounds familiar, and then you said the name. I was like, I have it.
Yeah. So he's got yes, that's it. That's my husband.
Yeah, I just looked him up too.
And he's
That's
got another. I think he's got a duology after that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite character, not just from this series, but all of your books?
Of my own series? Oh
Yes.
dear. That's a hard
Favorite
one.
children?
I'm just probably gonna. I mean, I think it's gonna have to be Ash. It's probably gonna have to be Ash, from the Iron Face series, because he was like kind of my first love interest and my first, yeah. If I was Megan, I would date him. But yeah, he was my first, one of like my first loves, and he has such a story, and he changes so much. He goes from this broody loner, much like Tatsumi, to someone with a family. Someone he's a father, he's a husband, and he's been through so much. So probably Ash is my favorite character. Followed very closely by Yumeko. Yumeko is because she's a kitsune. Yeah.
She's just so cute in my mind. And I'm like, I also picture her like ears and her tail, and I'm just like, I want to touch him.
Well, I kind of think, have you ever read Monstrous, the graphic novel series? There's a little, I'm pretty sure they call her a Hixson though, in that one, but she has like the little ears and the tails, and she's adorable. She's like my favorite character in that series. I think she's just the cutest thing. So that's kind of like what I thought of with Yumeko as well, because I actually have pictures of that one. So
what is everyone currently reading?
Oh, okay.
I am not currently reading anything. The last book I read was Shadow of the Fox.
Ooh.
I have no idea what I'm going to read next, because whenever we're done with this, I'm going to be filming my Wheel of TBR for next month. So
I read Shadow of the Fox during a readathon. So I read it in like 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that. So it was a binge. But I'm currently reading actually Nightshade by Carrie Lake. This was a gift from my sister. And so I'm reading this right now. I'm not very far into it, though.
Oh my gosh, it's a tome.
It is. It's super thick. It is a like gothic paranormal romance.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll see. It's giving me like Vampire Diaries vibes right now, where it's like very like extra angsty, dramatic, right? That's kind of
broody.
Exactly. And you know what? It's like I'm just enjoying it. It's fun.
Well,
Jane Warren, Project Hail Mary.
I love Project Hail Mary.
same. That was such a good book. Me and Marty both read it, and we both loved it.
It is so good. I think it's his best work. I like The Martian too, but I love Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, I unfortunately do not get to do much reading for pleasure. Currently, I am reading what I'm writing, but I am very much enjoying the Dungeon Crawler Carl series.
Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've never.
Yeah.
It's basically, if you're a D&D nerd, you would love this series. So I love, Dungeon Crawler Carl. And if you're into D&D or RPGs or anything like that, it's fantastic. I'm on book 3, and Yeah, so
That's awesome.
basically
apocalypse
the
will be
premise
televised.
is
Dungeon crawler Carl.
the world is turned into a massive underground dungeon through, I won't say, but
wow, that covered.
but Carl, who's just an ordinary dude, has to, make his way through the dungeon with his cat, Princess Donut. And they just have to survive, and they level up, and it's so good. It's super. You wouldn't.
That cat
think
looks
it's
evil.
that deep. It becomes super deep. The characters are so good. The first couple are like just fun, but it's starting to get really deep, and yeah, it's a fabulous series. So.
Fun.
It sounds fun, yeah.
And if you've ever played any type of video game, you'll just kind of laugh because the AI is hilarious. It's like, new achievement! You keep entering the dungeon with no pants! What are you doing?
I love it.
Okay, that sounds like a fun audiobook to listen to.
I think it is
Oh, I
only on audio. Yeah, but yeah, do get the audiobook. The audiobook is just fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it shows that it's on Kindle Unlimited,
Okay.
Oh, nice.
audiobook,
I
like Audible, and
highly
you can also
recommend
buy
the
it
audio.
on paperback.
Highly recommend the audio. It's absolutely hilarious.
Love a fun audiobook. Maybe that'll be my next read.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Drew says, hello, I'm late. But what of the 3 books from Shadow of the Fox trilogy was your favorite?
Oh, this is for me. Because I assume because you guys haven't read the last one. The last one. I can't go into spoilers, but you know my motto as an author? My motto as an author is your tears feed my muse.
Oh,
I love it.
oh dear.
I like when you're not scared to like actually kill off some main characters or cause like damage to main characters. I feel like there's such low stakes when that doesn't happen. So, especially in like a world like this that is made to be so dangerous, right? There's so many things out there that could really hurt you. And so, yeah, it raises the stakes, makes it seem more real.
Yeah, I don't think I would be okay if anything happened to the first 3 of the group.
If anything happened,
after,
one of them
like
was
any of the
already
ones that came after that, I'd probably be like, oh. But
Daisuke's such a gentleman. Why would you want him killed off? I like him
wouldn't want
too.
him killed off either. But I'm not as like connected to him as I am the other 3. But
oh, really? Yeah, I'm more okay with him too. You're right.
yeah, I like him. But if he were to die, it would be sad. But if Ronan, for example, if the Ronan were to die, I would be way more sad.
Yeah,
because he went from being like, the rabid dog to being,
Really? I'm also
man's
kind of
best
okay
friend.
with him too. If I gotta pick and choose, he can be in the red shirt pile.
I would be way more sad if he died.
Tiny spoiler for book 2.
Oh.
So Ronan and Daisuke get much closer.
Oh, okay, maybe not then. I'm gonna have to change my mind.
Okay.
That
You just
may change
said I
things.
can't. I have to read that book now. Oh my gosh! You just said the magic words. You just said the magic words.
Now, see, now I might not be okay with him dying either.
Yeah, now
I'm telling
I'm gonna
you.
have to change my answer.
We just didn't have enough time with him. You're gonna love him. You're gonna love him.
Oh my goodness.
There might be a scene in the moonlight with the flute and the 2 of them. So.
Oh, the flute.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh! I'm even more excited. I was already excited.
Maybe that's my next book.
I actually
Forget the
already
rest of
have it out in
TBR.
my library.
Let's see. Oh yes, book 3 is my favorite too. I've read the whole trilogy because of Alfred.
Yeah, cool.
I'm curious,
Very
kind of how
cool.
Stephanie was curious about the fairy loop process. What is the audiobook process when, as far as an author, do you get a lot of say in that?
Not at first. I started out, they just said, hey, here are the author, you might get here are 3 narrators we're thinking of for narrating this book. Which one do you like? And I've gotten that before. But other than that, and the narrators might call you and be like, how do you pronounce this word? I'm actually very good friends with one of them. I'm good friends with the guy who did Summer's Crossing and The Iron Raven. He plays the voice of Puck. And he called me last week, me like, so how do you pronounce Leonanshi? So there's some very long fairy word names that he needed some help pronouncing. But usually it's just they will choose a narrator, or you'll choose a narrator, and that's about it. They'll go in, they'll narrate the book, and then you can download it on Audible and, listen to it. So
speaking of the audiobook, I very frequently will listen to the audiobook while I am reading along physically. And it happened quite infrequently in your book, but in some books it's a lot more prominent that there are differences. Do they read like an earlier edited version before like the final edited version comes out? Because this is very common that they're not quite the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. So I'm guessing that some books, they do have an earlier version, because the audio and the book releases on this. If the audio book and the book releases on the same day,
Right,
they would need an earlier version to get it out on time.
Right. That makes sense.
So, but I'm not entirely sure.
With yours, it was just like words here and there, like a few words here and there, but some of them like have entire paragraphs switched or gone or things like that.
I've not experienced that, but I don't often. I listen to some audiobooks, but not a lot of them. But I've not. Maybe I'm just not. Maybe I'm
It'd
just
be
not
really hard to
informed.
notice unless you're reading along at the same time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say that listening to your own audio is a weird sensation, because it's like I know this book and I know what's coming, obviously, but the narrators make it a totally different book. It's a very strange experience.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I had the experience with this book actually, because I read it physically at times and I listened to the audiobook when I was driving. So then I had a completely different voice for every character every time I listened to it versus reading it, because the experience can be so different based on what the narrators portray as their voices for these characters and what you have in your head. And I imagine that has to be the same
Very,
for you,
very
even more so.
Usually it's I'm like, oh, I like that character. I like how they did that. But there's been a couple times where like, that's not how I pictured it, but oh well, it works.
That's funny
Yeah,
to
I
think
think
about that.
I think
You
in
know,
this
you can see
instance, the
that
touch-
happening a
sorry.
lot when a book goes to, say, a TV show or a movie, and it's like, oh, that's way different than I saw it when I was writing it. But for that to be the same kind of thing when it comes to the audiobook, when it's your words exactly, well, almost exactly, how it can be like, oh yeah, that voice shouldn't sound like that.
I had like one experience with the series, and the narrator did a fantastic job, but one of the voices were just like, oh, stop making him sound so whiny. He's not that whiny. But generally I've been, super, super pleased with like all the narrators. They all do such a fantastic job. So
Do you have one that you're like, this is my favorite, like the favorite narration of this book, or like what book has been like the best narration for you?
I think like the Iron Knight, McLeod Andrews did Ash's story, and he did a phenomenal job. So I think the Iron Knight is probably my favorite of the narrators, though Iron Raven is very, very close too, because Puck is such a dramatic, funny character, and Josh just brought him to life so perfectly. So he is the perfect pug. So
I'm looking forward to getting to those as well. Like I've only read the first one and I loved it, and I was like, I need to read all of them. And so I'm excited to get to these different characters and everything.
it's a little daunting. How many books are there in the Iron Face series now? Like 10? No, 4.
There's a lot.
I think there's maybe 11, not counting the novellas. I don't know. I've lost
And I'm
count.
pretty sure I have all of them. Let's see. I'm gonna actually look it up real quick.
Yeah, Google it.
So there's 4 books in the first series, there's 3 books in the second series, and there's 3 books in the third series, and plus there's the novellas. There's 3 novellas. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, let's see. We got, I guess, with the original Iron Fae, it looks like there's 4.
Mm.
Plus, I see a few novellas, and then there's the Iron Fae Call of the Forgotten.
Yeah, that's the second series.
3.
In series.
And then there's the Iron Fae Evenfall.
Yeah, and that's the final one, which is.
And there's a lot of novellas.
There's lots of novellas. I think they bound all the novellas into one book too, called The Iron Legends.
Okay. Oh, and then there's the Iron Fae manga. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. Wait. Wacky aphorisms, what the web says about the Iron King, the Iron Fae, Book 1. By Andrew Hacker. Okay.
What?
That came up in the list.
So random.
Okay.
So if someone came up to you, Julie, and said, I really want to make Shadow the Fox an anime series, would you be like, would you just be?
That would be fabulous. I would be thrilled. Yeah, that would be so cool. Because, I wrote it, for an anime. I was hoping to write I wanted to write an anime, and if someone made it into an anime, that would be so cool. So if there's any,
I would totally watch it.
Putting it out there.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I'm not one to watch a lot of anime. My son does.
Getting it into an anime is just as hard as getting your book into a movie. So
I would totally watch it though, because I think it would be really cute to watch, whether it be anime or a TV show or whatever. I think it would be fun. I don't know how somebody would make Yumeko-san because I can't picture her as anything but this 13-year-old in my head.
She'll have to be a little older for some of the scenes in the
later
books.
Older. A little awkward otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as the action and the characters go, it would lend itself really well to an anime. So let's just, everybody out there, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. Let's let everybody know that this needs to be an anime.
Any plans to go back to the Shadow of the Fox world is all finished. Currently, it is finished. Especially, and again, don't want to do too many spoilers, but the way things ended in the third book, it'd be hard to return with these characters. But not to say that there might be others in the world, because I really do like the world, and maybe I would go back to it with different characters, but right now it is currently finished.
So do you want to tell us about any books you have coming out?
Yes, I do. Where is my thing? So I'm writing I'm currently writing a new middle grade trilogy for Disney, Hyperion. Ooh. And I'll show you the cover because I really love the cover, and I bet everyone will love the cover. So let me find it.
Oh, that's cute.
There we go. So this is the cover of my new
Oh,
It's a
Storm.
dragon.
That's
Well,
really
middle
cute.
grade series. It's called Lightning Born. The series is called Storm Dragons.
It's so
And
cute.
yeah, so it's about obviously it's about dragons, but it takes place in a fantasy world with floating islands and sky ships and sky pirates and princesses and dragons. And the main character finds a baby dragon that he's not supposed to have, and there's a ruthless pirate mage looking for them because he wants the dragon and he has to protect the dragon. And they meet the princess of the kingdom who is looking for a way to save the world, like you do, and all sorts of hijinks ensue. So it's a lot of fun, swashbuckling fantasy fun. So, and I very much enjoyed writing it. So it the first book comes out next month.
Wow.
Comes out April 2nd. So very close.
Very, very soon.
And right now I'm working on the edits for the second book in the series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I see that you also have something called Fateless.
Yeah. So Fateless is my next YA series that's coming out. There were some shuffles within HarperCollins and it kind of got pushed back. But Fateless is my next series. And I guess I can describe it as Prince of Persia meets Assassin's Creed. And those are both video games. So it's a fantasy that takes place on a desert world, and the main character is a thief who meets an assassin, and basically they kind of have to save the world from the deathless king who rises and wants to take over everything. So
Nice.
That sounds great.
I have this book on hold at my library already. The legend one, I think, is what he's talking about. The dragon one.
Yeah.
What's the title aside from Storm Dragons? What's the title again?
Lightning Born.
Lightning Born. For some reason, I wanted to say Legend Born.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, yeah, it's not Legend Born. That's a different book. Lightning Born. That looks super cute too.
Yeah.
So, I can't. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
And, please don't kill me when you finish the end of the third book of Shadow of the Fox.
Oh no. Is it one of those books that we're going to want to throw across the room?
Very much so.
Oh no.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
We're all going to be writing her like on Instagram or whatever, going,
Like,
Julie, why'd you do this to us?
I mean, I was already surprised that you, okay, this is a spoiler, killed off Lady Satomi at the end. I did not expect that. Like, I can tell there's just, you're going to keep moving things along and have big things happening. So,
there is a bigger bad out there.
yeah. Well, just because I felt like she was a big bad, and yet she was not a big enough bad.
They're bigger bads.
There are bigger bads.
So, now
There's
I'm
the dude
nervous.
she was talking to. I'm guessing he's going to come back into play.
Mm-hmm. But is he good or bad?
You might meet him in the second book.
Well, he's bad.
He's obviously bad.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. But I feel like he's a little more interesting or complex than she was. She was just a jerk. He feels more interesting.
The one that was in the mirror?
The gold eyes. I'm thinking of.
Oh, who are you talking? Are you talking about?
Are you thinking of the person that killed her?
Yeah.
Oh no. I was talking to the person that she was talking to.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
right.
she's
The
talking
skull head.
to, like, she is talking to someone,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll meet him, and then golden-eyed dude killed her.
Right. Golden Eye dude's just getting stuff done. Holy cow! He's just like. Phew.
And golden-eyed dude is another one of my absolute favorite things in the yokai universe. So
I like him.
I really like him too.
Yeah, he was interesting. I'm like, I'm curious who our next big bad is going to be.
the skull head, right? Like that was the one. That's one you're talking about. I was talking about the gold eye guy.
Oh, was it a
and-
skull? I was thinking wrong.
Yeah, she was talking to a skull, and it's like the
skull.
eyes
Yeah,
were
that's-
glowing.
And she came through the mirror and talked to us. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I think it's interesting that the golden eye guy sees so much potential in Yumeko. Like, so we obviously know she's going to play a big part. She's our main character, but like the fact that he's like, well, we just think of her as this half. She's a kitsune. She's just like half fox, and yet she's got bigger things to come. I think that's really, I like that little underdog kind of.
Well, I think there was like a prophecy that she was supposed to almost fulfill. That's why she was dropped off at the temple, and that's why they kept her and raised her, is because she is meant to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how nobody has realized like that she has this scroll. I mean, she drops it while
All
holding
the time.
Ronan.
She's so clumsy.
And I'm like, how does Ronan not know she's got this especially when like he wasn't aware of the whole scroll thing until later, and he's like, wait, what? I think I'm missing the first part of this story. What scroll? What? And I'm surprised at that point he didn't go, oh, you mean that scroll you dropped?
I mean, he had an arrow in his back at the time. That other things to think about.
Like that. To be fair, he was, mortally, he was injured.
He was like, oh, it happens every day.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Sorry. Check it out.
But yeah, it's funny that like she's dropped it in front of people. Like she
Once, I think
nobody has connected the fact that she has this scroll that everybody is after.
Right.
Well, and a lot of the yokai are like, or at least, okay, so the Wind Witch knew she had the scroll. So a lot of the yokai seem to know things because they're these demons and whatnot, and they're saying things out loud around everybody else, and you're like, wouldn't other people? Everybody's ears are a bit plugged.
Well, the Blood Witch knew.
Sorry?
The Blood Witch knew too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. You're right.
A lot. Well, knew a lot.
Yeah. Oops.
But now that what happened in the end, spoiler, demon guy taking over. Now everybody knows what she is. But still, how does he still not know she has the scroll? Since he's now this demon guy and all the demons know.
Like extraordinarily, I would say he's so focused on his task, he doesn't see the obvious things in front of him.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist, that character when Tatsumi turned into like this, just I'm the best there is and I'm amazing and master of the demons, and I just thought that was a fun change in tone. Those two characters, so completely different.
Also, when the guy was like, "You're smaller than I remember."
Yeah, actually, I love the comedy you brought in too, especially with the yokai. Like they're just so confident, so cocky. But at the same time, they brought in little silly, funny. The dialogue was pretty fun in the way that you brought comedy into it when they're in these big battle scenes, and yet you lighten it up a little bit with these silly yokai.
Dialogue is one of my favorite things to write. So.
All right. Well, I think we are going to wrap this up. It's been so amazing getting to chat with you, Julie, and have you answer everybody's questions. And I know we're all looking forward to continuing this trilogy, though some have already completed the trilogy, and reading more of everything you put out, because your writing is chef's kiss.
Thank you. And this was so fun. So thank you for having me. And if you want to invite me back to rant at me for the end of Shadow of the Fox, that would be great too.
Absolutely. I'm down.
You're volunteering yourself to be ranted.
Everybody has read it, so no.
I'm down for that. When we all finish it all, we're like, okay, let's really talk.
Be down for a discussion of what happens at the end of Shadow of the Fox series.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. I'm not ready for that.
I don't think I am either. I really like these characters, Julie. Stop.
I know, me too.
I kind of like it when characters die in books.
I do too.
Stephanie's like, kill them all.
But especially when they're characters you don't love.
We're emotionally invested in it, you know?
That's true.
When you can make someone cry over your book, you know you've done something right.
Yeah.
Either like laugh hysterically or cry, you know you've done something right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or even get angry. That's fine too.
Yeah.
You don't want people to finish book and just be like, it was fine.
Yeah.
Because then it's forgettable. So
Yes.
Completely agree. I agree.
I've had those books where I'm just like, I've literally thrown a book across the room and I've ranted and I'm like, I can't believe.
Oh, Lord of
But
the
that
Rings when
book stuck
Frodo
with
died.
me. Like I can
was
still remember this book.
my
And those
favorite
are 5 stars, obviously, usually.
my favorite
Yeah.
books are the ones that have made me cry. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
strive to
same.
do that with some of my books.
Yeah.
My favorite ones tend to be the ones that make me cry. I don't know what that says about me, but
I don't know if we all enjoy it. Maybe that's a very normal human thing because
Yeah, I
it's like
think
makes
so.
you feel emotions.
just rip my heart out and hand it to me, please.
We just all love tragedy.
No.
Now I'm picturing you, Julie, writing your story and then like sobbing while you're doing it.
Or
Why did I
cackling.
do that?
I've had
Cackling.
the ending. Yeah, that's more like it. But I've had the ending for this trilogy for a very, very long time. This was the very first series I ever wrote. Like this book was before the Iron King, before all of that. I wrote a book about a kitsune and a ninja, and you know the characters are some of the other characters are a bit different, but the ending has always been the same. So I've kind of been prepared for this ending for like over 10 years. So
Oh,
Dang.
wow. We're gonna get just
Torn apart.
torn apart, ripped apart.
Can't wait.
That'd
and
be great.
So for those that want to continue chatting and hanging out and talking about the readathon, talking about whatever, we have our after hours live show at 3 p.m. Eastern time here on my channel. Come and join us and hang out and chit chat. And there's a Xander back there. And thank you again, Julie, for coming and joining our chat here. And I'm down for having you back when we finish the trilogy.
perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.